The masquerade's hand closed around Ngolhal's throat, and the entire village watched her die. But she didn't die, not yet. 200 villagers stood frozen as Alekwu Amadachi held her suspended, her feet lifting off the ground. She couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. The wooden fingers burned into her skin like hot iron. When it finally released her, she collapsed into the red dust, gasping. 5 black fingerprints seared into her throat. Her grandmother's voice cut through the silence. 5 days. It's given you 5 days. Subscribe right now if you want to find out what happens when those 5 days run out. Because what the masquerade does to her is worse than death. Hit that button. 5 days earlier, Ngolhal Akinj had been untouchable. Her Abuja apartment overlooked the city skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting her success. 28 years old, pharmaceutical sales representative, closing deals that made her colleagues weep with envy. She stood in her living room, video call active, watching her boss's face light up. The regional director position is yours, Ngolhal. We're announcing it Monday. She'd worked 6 years for this. 6 years of 16-hour days, perfect presentations, playing the game better than anyone. She ended the call and screamed with joy, dancing barefoot on marble floors. Her phone buzzed. Emeka. Her fiancé's face filled the screen, dimples deepening as he grinned. "I heard the news," he said. "My future wife, the regional director. We're celebrating this weekend. I'm taking you to that French restaurant you love." Actually, her phone buzzed again. Uncle Agwuch, she ignored it. "Actually what?" Emeka's smile faded slightly. "Nothing, the French place sounds perfect." She kissed the screen. "I love you. Love you more." The call ended. Uncle Agwuch called again, then again. She finally answered, irritation sharp in her voice. "Uncle, I'm busy. Mama Adekwu is dying." His voice cracked. "She's asking for you. She has something to confess before she goes. You need to come to Atukpo, now." Ngolhal's stomach dropped. Her grandmother dying. What happened? Was it her heart? "Just come. The Age Alekwu festival is in 2 days. She wants you here before then." "Uncle, I have the promotion announcement on Monday. I can't just—" "Your grandmother is dying, Ngolhal. She specifically asked for you, not your cousins, you." Guilt twisted in her chest. "Fine, I'll drive down tomorrow morning, but I'm leaving Sunday." She didn't leave Sunday. Atukpo hit her like a wall of heat and red dust. Her Mercedes looked obscene on the unpaved roads, designer heels sinking into mud outside her grandmother's compound. Her cousin Turfa met her at the gate, wearing a faded Arsenal jersey and rubber slippers. "You look like you're going to a fashion show," he said, grinning. "You look like you're going to a football match in 2003. She hugged him anyway. "Where's Mama?" "Inside, but Ngolhal," he grabbed her arm. "She's not actually dying." "What?" "She lied to get you here. She's fine, healthy as ever." Rage flared hot in her chest. "Are you serious? I canceled plans with Emeka for this. I have a major announcement on Monday." "She said it was the only way you'd come." Turfa's expression turned serious. "She's really worried about something, about you and the festival." Ngolhal stormed into the compound. The familiar smell hit her, firewood smoke, red earth, chickens scratching in the yard. Her grandmother sat on a wooden bench under the mango tree, grinding pepper in a mortar. She looked perfectly healthy. "Mama," Ngolhal's voice shook, "Uncle said you were dying." Mama Adekwu set down the pestle slowly, her eyes still sharp at 73 fixed on Ngolhal. "I needed you here. You wouldn't have come otherwise." "So you lied. Do you know what I gave up to be here?" "Sit down." "I'm not sitting, I'm leaving." Ngolhal Adekwu Akinj, sit down. The command in her grandmother's voice made her obey despite herself. Mama Adekwu leaned forward, gripping Ngolhal's hands. "There's something you must know before the festival. Our family has a debt to the ancestors. And you have the mark of the first daughter." "What are you talking about?" During the Age Aleku festival, the masquerades walk among us. They are not costumes. They are our ancestors returned to ensure we remember who we are. You cannot disrespect them. You cannot mock them. You cannot, her grip tightened painfully. You cannot challenge them. Promise me, Ngohal. Ngohal pulled her hands free, standing. Grandma, I love you, but I don't have time for superstition. I have a life in Abuja, a career, a fiancé. I can't stay here playing make-believe about ancestors in costumes. Mama Adequu's face crumpled. You sound just like her. Like who? But her grandmother turned away, silent. That evening, Ngohal video called Emeka. He answered from his apartment, concern creasing his forehead. How's your grandmother? She's fine, completely healthy. She lied to get me here. Ngohal paced the small room she'd been given, Wi-Fi signal flickering. I'm stuck in this village for some festival tomorrow and I just want to come home. Then come home. You don't owe anyone your time if they manipulated you. It's not that simple. If I leave now, I'll break her heart. And Uncle Agwuch is already upset with me for wanting to leave early, she sighed. I'll stay for the festival tomorrow, then leave first thing Sunday morning. I'll still make the Monday announcement. I miss you, Emeka said softly. This weekend was supposed to be about us. I know, I'm sorry, I miss you too. After they said goodnight, Ngohal lay in the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. Mosquito netting draped around her like a cage. From outside, she heard drums in the distance, practicing for tomorrow. The sound made her skin prickle. She told herself it was just the heat. The festival began at noon. The entire village gathered in the central square, women in colorful wrappers, men in traditional attire. Ngohal wore jeans and a silk blouse, her phone already recording. She'd started a live stream to her Abuja friends. Zainab and Chaik were watching, sending laughing emojis in the comments. This is so village, Zainab typed. Are those actual drums? Ngohal grinned at the camera. Welcome to my cultural roots. Watch me suffer through this. The drums grew louder. Dancers entered the square, their movements sharp and precise. Then the first masquerade appeared, a smaller one, covered in colorful cloth and shells. The crowd parted respectfully. It's literally just someone in a costume, Ngohal muttered to her phone. The comments agreed. Chaik typed, I'll send you 50K if you go touch it. Ngohal laughed, you're joking. Dead serious, 50K touch the mask. Deal. She stepped forward, phone in hand. Uncle Agwuch caught her arm. Ngohal, sit down. I'm just getting a better view. This is not a joke. These are sacred rites. You will show respect. She pulled free, irritation flaring. Uncle, I'm 28 years old. Stop treating me like a child. She moved closer to the dancing masquerade, filming. The crowd murmured disapproval, but she ignored them. Her phone buzzed. Chaik upped the offer to 75K. Then the drums stopped. Complete silence fell. The smaller masquerades froze mid-dance. Every head turned toward the sacred grove at the edge of the square. Something was emerging from the shadows between the trees. Aleku Amadachi, the silent judge. It stood at least 7 feet tall, its body wrapped in layers of ancient raffia that rustled like whispers. The wooden mask was carved with angular features, hollow eyes that seemed to swallow light. Shells and beads decorated its form, clicking softly with each slow, deliberate step. The crowd dropped to their knees. Even the elders bowed their heads. Ngohal stood alone, phone raised, still live streaming. Now this is content, she whispered. The masquerade moved toward the center of the square, its presence suffocating. Ngohal's chest tightened, but she attributed it to the heat, to nervousness. She stepped into its path, emboldened by the alcohol Uncle Agwuch had served earlier, emboldened by her friends watching, by the money, by her own defiance of everything this village represented. She raised her phone higher, angling for the mask's face. Let's see what's under this costume, she said loudly in English. Somewhere behind her, Mama Adiku screamed. Ngolhal reached out, fingers inches from the wooden mask. The masquerade's hand shot out faster than anything human should move. And that was when its fingers closed around her throat. The village watched her die, watched her feet leave the ground, watched her phone fall into the dust, its screen still recording, watched the wooden fingers burn black marks into her skin, watched her eyes roll back, her body go limp. When Alekwu Amadachi finally released her, she collapsed, gasping, alive, barely. 5 fingerprints marked her throat like a brand. Mama Adiku pushed through the crowd, falling to her knees beside Ngolhal. 5 days, she whispered, tears streaming. It's given you 5 days. The masquerade turned and walked back to the grove. The festival was over. That night, Ngolhal couldn't sleep. The fingerprints burned, not painful exactly but present, a constant heat against her skin that wouldn't fade. She stood in front of the cracked mirror in her room, studying the marks. 5 perfect prints, black as charcoal, impossibly precise. Her phone sat on the bed, screen cracked from the fall. She tried to review the live-stream footage, but the video was corrupted. Distorted images, static, and underneath it all, drums that hadn't been playing when she recorded. At 2 a.m. she decided to leave, packed her bags in silence, car keys in hand. She couldn't stay here. This was madness. In the morning, she'd see a doctor in Abuja about the marks, probably some kind of burn from whatever chemical they used on the costume. She made it to her car before the burning intensified. It felt like hot iron pressed directly against her throat. She gasped, dropping her bags, clawing at her neck. The fingerprints weren't just burning, they were bleeding. Black liquid seeped from the marks, staining her fingers. She collapsed in the driveway, vision blurring. Turfa found her at dawn, unconscious in the red dust. When she woke, she was back in bed, Mama Adiku sitting beside her with damp cloths and prayers. Uncle Agwuch stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "You tried to leave," he said quietly. "I need a hospital." "No hospital can help you." He stepped into the room, and for the first time Ngolhal saw fear in his eyes, real fear. "Do you know what you've done? You didn't just disrespect a costume. You challenged the ancestors. Alekwu Amadachi is the silent judge. It weighs the hearts of those who break sacred law. This is insane. The marks on your throat are counting down. 5 days. At sunset on the 5th day, he stopped himself. At sunset what? Ngolhal's voice cracked. Mama Adiku answered, her voice barely a whisper. You become one of them, forever. Silence filled the room. Outside, roosters crowed. Life continued as normal for everyone else. But in this room, Ngolhal's world had shattered. What do you mean, become one of them? Uncle Agwuch sat heavily on the edge of the bed. The masquerade doesn't kill you, it takes your place. The real you, trapped inside the mask forever, forced to judge others who break the sacred law. That's the punishment. That's not possible, that's not. But the words died in her throat, because deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she knew something had changed, something fundamental. Her phone rang, Emeka. She grabbed it desperately, needing normal, needing her real life. Hello. Ngolhal. His voice sounded strange, distant. I had the strangest dream last night. Emeka, I need to tell you something. You were wearing raffia and dancing, but your face, it wasn't your face anymore. Cold swept through her. What are you talking about? I don't know, it was so vivid. And when I woke up, I had this feeling. He paused. This is going to sound crazy, but I don't think you should come back to Abuja. What, why? Because I don't think you're you anymore. The line went dead. Ngolhal tried calling back. Number disconnected. She tried again and again, her hands shaking. Finally, she called his office. His secretary answered. Is Emeka there? Who's calling? His fiancée, Ngolhal. I'm sorry, but Mr. Emeka specifically said he's not taking calls from you. He said if you called, I should tell you it's over. He's ending the engagement. The phone slipped from Ngohal's fingers. If you want to see whether she can break this curse before the 5 days end, hit that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me, would you stay and fight or run? Day 2 crawled by in a haze of fear. Ngohal couldn't see her reflection properly anymore. Every mirror, every window, every reflective surface showed her face slightly blurred, slightly wrong, like she was already fatting. She tried to book flights. Every airline suddenly had technical difficulties processing her payment. She tried to book an Uber. Every driver canceled. She tried to board a bus leaving Atukpo. The bus broke down before it even left the station. She was trapped. That afternoon, Zainab video called. Her friend's face was pale, eyes red from crying. Ngoha, what did you do? Zainab, I keep seeing you in my house at night, but it's not you. It stands in my bedroom doorway just watching me. It's wearing your face, but the eyes are empty. Zainab's voice rose to a near scream. What the hell did you do at that festival? I don't know, I didn't mean. The call cut off. Zainab blocked her immediately after. Ngohal sat on the floor of her room, hugging her knees, finally letting herself cry. Everything was falling apart. Her career, her relationship, her friends, her life. And she had 3 days left. Turfa knocked softly and entered without waiting for permission. He sat beside her, not speaking at first. I found something, he finally said. In Mama's room, old photos. He handed her a faded photograph. A young woman, maybe 25, standing in front of this same compound. Same face as Ngohal, same sharp eyes, same defiant tilt to her chin. Who is this? Your aunt, Mama's older sister. Turfa's voice dropped. She died before you were born, at least that's what we were told. She looks exactly like me. I know. Turfa pulled out another photo, this one showing at a festival, standing too close to a masquerade. She challenged Alekwu Amadachi 30 years ago. On the 5th day, she walked into the sacred grove and something walked back out wearing her body. Ngohal's blood turned to ice. What do you mean, wearing her body? It lived with the family for 3 days, ate meals with us, smiled at the right times, but Mama knew. She said Ian's eyes were empty, like looking into a doll's face. On the 3rd day, it walked back to the grove and vanished. We never saw Ian again. Where is she now? No one knows, but sometimes during festivals people say they see her face in the masks, watching, judging. Ngohal clutched the photo, her hands trembling. This was real. This was actually real. And in 3 days she would become like Ian, a hollow thing wearing her own face until even that was taken away. Day 3 arrived with crushing clarity. Ngohal woke and immediately knew something was wrong. She was lying in bed, but she had no memory of going to sleep. The last thing she remembered was eating dinner with Mama Adequu around 7 p.m. It was now 6 a.m. 11 hours missing. She stumbled to the mirror, mud on her feet, under her fingernails. Her clothes were different. She'd been wearing jeans last night. Now she wore a wrapper she didn't recognize. Turfa burst into her room without knocking. Where were you? What, I was here. No, you weren't. His face was pale. I found you at the sacred grove at 4 in the morning. You were dancing Ngohal, wearing raffia, chanting in old Idoma. I don't speak Idoma. I know, that's what scared me. You were speaking it fluently, perfectly, words none of us use anymore. And when I tried to wake you, you looked right through me, like you didn't even see me. Ngohal sank onto the bed, her legs giving out. The masquerade was already taking her, already replacing her from the inside out. She had 2 days left and she was running out of time. That afternoon, Uncle Agwuch called an emergency meeting with the village elders. Ngolhal sat in the center of the compound, while old men and women debated her fate in rapid idoma. Finally, Chief Akali, the eldest, the keeper of traditions, spoke in English for her benefit. "There is one way to break the curse, only one." He leaned forward on his walking stick. "The replacement. If someone of your blood offers themselves willingly in genuine love, the masquerade will accept the exchange. The curse transfers to them. You go free." Hope flared in Ngolhal's chest. Who can I ask? It must be an adult, someone who fully understands what they're giving up. A child cannot consent. She looked at Turfa. He stepped back immediately, shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Ngolhal, I have a daughter, I can't." She looked at Uncle Ogwuch. He wouldn't meet her eyes. "I have 5 children, a wife. I can't abandon them." One by one, her relatives looked away. Cousins, aunts, uncles, they all had reasons. Good reasons, valid reasons. No one would die for her. Mama Adeku stood slowly, her joints creaking. "I'll do it." The compound erupted. "Mama, no. You're too old. Think of your grandchildren." She silenced them with a raised hand. "This is my fault. I should have told Ngolhal the truth about Een from the beginning. I let fear keep me silent, and now my granddaughter pays the price for my cowardice." Ngolhal grabbed her grandmother's hands. "Mama, you can't, please. I'll accept the curse. I was the one who—" "You finally understand. That's what the ancestors wanted, genuine remorse. But remorse without sacrifice means nothing." Mama Adeku cupped Ngolhal's face. "I'm old. I've lived my life. You're 28. You have decades ahead of you. Let me do this." That night, unable to sleep, Ngolhal searched her grandmother's room. She found a diary hidden in a wooden chest, entries dating back 30 years. Her hands shook as she read. "Een challenged the masquerade to protect me. I was the one who broke the taboo. I entered the sacred grove as a young girl, curious and foolish. The elders gave me a choice: face the consequences myself or let my sister take my place. Een volunteered before I could speak. She said she was older, that she'd lived more, that it should be her. But when the 5th day came, the masquerade gave me a choice: take Een's place, save my sister through sacrifice. I could have said yes. I could have traded my life for hers. I said no. I was pregnant with Ogwuch. I was newly married. I had so much life ahead of me, so I let Een face the curse alone. I watched her walk into the grove. I watched something else walk out wearing her face. I have never forgiven myself." Ngolhal closed the diary, tears streaming down her face. Her grandmother had spent 30 years drowning in guilt, and now she was trying to atone by making the choice she couldn't make before. But at what cost? Day 4 arrived. The 4th fingerprint on Ngolhal's throat began to fade, not healing but transforming, darkening, becoming permanent. She had 1 day left. Sunset tomorrow, and it would be over. Preparations for the ritual began. The entire village knew. Women cooked, men gathered firewood, the sacred grove was prepared. Mama Adeku would be dressed in white, offered to Alekwu Amadachi as a replacement. Ngolhal couldn't let it happen. She spent the morning with her grandmother, memorizing her face. The deep lines around her eyes, the gap in her smile from a tooth lost years ago, the way she hummed while cooking. All the things Ngolhal had taken for granted during her years in Abuja. "I'm sorry," Ngolhal whispered, "for everything, for not visiting more, for mocking our traditions, for not listening." "You're listening now," Mama Adeku said gently. "That's what matters." But that afternoon, while Mama Adeku rested, Ngolhal went to Turfa. "I need to see the diary again, all of it." He brought it to her. She read through it desperately, looking for anything, any clue, any loophole, any way to save both herself and her grandmother. She found it in an entry, dated 3 weeks after Een disappeared. "I saw her today at the festival. She was wearing the mask, but I knew it was Een. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I heard her voice in my head. I'm not trapped, I chose this. I chose to become a guardian to protect our traditions, to teach others what happens when sacred laws are broken. You think you saved yourself by refusing to take my place. But I saved myself by accepting mine. I am not punished. I am transformed. And one day you'll understand. I don't understand. I don't think I ever will. Ngolhal stared at the words. Een wasn't trapped, she chose it. Transformed, not punished. But could Ngolhal make that same choice? Day 5. Sunset was at 6:47 p.m. Ngolhal had 12 hours. The entire village gathered at the sacred grove. Mama Adeku was prepared, white wrapper, white beads, white clay marking her face. She looked peaceful, ready. Chief Akali stood before the ritual circle, staff in hand. We offer this elder in exchange for the young one. We ask Alekwu Amadachi to accept this sacrifice and release Ngolhal Akenj from her curse. The drums began. Slow at first, then building. The air thickened, pressing down on Ngolhal's chest. She could barely breathe. And then it appeared. Alekwu Amadachi emerged from the grove, taller than she remembered, more terrifying. It circled the ritual space slowly, deliberately, studying both women. It stopped in front of Mama Adeku. Then it did something no one expected. It shook its head. Chief Akali's eyes widened. It refuses. What? Uncle Aguch stepped forward. Why, we're offering. The masquerade turned to face Chief Akali. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere and nowhere, ancient and terrible and sad. The debt was paid long ago. Een did not need replacing. She chose her path. This one, it pointed at Ngolhal, must choose hers. The masquerade moved to stand before Mama Adeku. You think your sacrifice now is love, but it is guilt. The ancestors do not accept guilt as payment. Mama Adeku fell to her knees, sobbing. Please, please take me instead. I failed, Een. Let me save Ngolhal. You failed Een by living in shame, but Een forgave you decades ago. She chose transformation. She chose purpose. Now this one must also choose. The masquerade turned to Ngolhal. You have two paths. Accept the curse and become a guardian like Een, wearing the mask, judging those who transgress, watching your loved ones age and die while you remain, eternal and sacred and alone. You will know their names, but they will not know yours. You will be respected, but you will be isolated. Forever. Ngolhal's legs shook. Forever. Watching Mama Adeku die. Watching Turfa's daughter grow up. Never aging, never leaving, never being free. Or, the masquerade's voice dropped lower. I take what I am truly owed, your voice. You mocked the sacred with your words. You live-streamed our traditions for laughs. You disrespected us with your speech. So you will keep your life, your body, your freedom. But you will never speak again. Every time you try, you will hear only drums. You can live your normal life, return to Abuja, keep your career, find love again. But you will do it in silence. The choice settled over her like a shroud. Voice or freedom, speech or eternity, normalcy or transformation. She looked at Mama Adeku, still kneeling, tears streaming down her weathered face. She looked at Uncle Agwuch, at Turfa holding his daughter. She looked at the village that had raised her, the traditions she'd mocked, the ancestors she'd disrespected. She thought about Emeka, about her promotion, about her Abuja apartment and her perfect life that was already gone. That man had left her. That job would replace her. That apartment would be empty without her voice to fill it anyway. But these people, her family, they were real. This place was real. And maybe, just maybe, there were things more important than speaking. Take my voice, Ngolhal whispered. I'll live with my silence. It's less than I deserve. The masquerade stepped forward. Its wooden hand reached out, pressing against her throat where the fingerprints burned. White-hot agony. Ngolhal tried to scream, but no sound came. Only the distant echo of drums, building to a crescendo that made her ears ring. The world tilted, spinning, and she felt something fundamental torn away, not just her voice, but the ability to make sound at all. When the pain faded, she collapsed. The masquerade was gone. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. The fifth day had ended. Ngohal opened her mouth, tried to speak. Her lips formed words, her throat moved, but nothing emerged except the faint rhythm of drums that only she could hear. Her voice was gone. Mama Adiku gathered her into her arms, holding her while she sobbed silently. The village watched, witnessing the price of arrogance, the weight of choices. Ngohal cried until she had nothing left. 3 months later, Ngohal stood in her Abuja apartment. The place felt hollow now. She kept her job, barely, by transitioning to written communication and sign language. Her promotion was gone, given to someone else. She'd learned to type faster than anyone in her department, carried notebooks everywhere, downloaded a dozen text-to-speech apps. But it wasn't the same. Emeka never called back. Her friends from that live stream, Zainab and Chaik, had drifted away, uncomfortable with her silence, unsure how to interact with this changed version of her. She'd attempted suicide twice, once with pills, but Mama Adiku had called right at that moment, some grandmother's intuition telling her to check on her granddaughter. Once standing on her balcony, staring down at the street below, but Turfa's daughter had sent her a video message. "Auntie Ngohal, when are you coming back? I miss you." She was hanging on by a thread. The blog had been her lifeline. She'd started it a month ago, written stories about African traditions, exploring them with the respect she should have shown from the beginning. She wrote about masquerades, about sacred groves, about the weight of cultural memory. Her latest post was titled, "The Price of Disrespect, My Story." She tried to record a video version using sign language, but she'd broken down crying and deleted it. The silence was still too raw. But the blog was growing. Thousands of followers, comments from people thanking her for taking traditions seriously, for presenting them with depth and nuance. Her writing had a vulnerability now, an authenticity that came from genuine suffering. It wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was a life. A week later, she returned to Atukpo for another festival. She didn't film, didn't mock, stood silently beside Mama Adiku as the masquerades passed, her head respectfully bowed. When Alekwu Amadachi emerged, the crowd parted. It moved through the square with that same terrifying grace, judging, observing, teaching. It paused in front of Ngohal. The village held its breath. Then it moved on, and Ngohal felt something, not quite approval, but acknowledgement. She'd learned her lesson. She was no longer the woman who'd live-streamed sacred rites for money and laughs. That night she dreamed. In the dream, she stood in the sacred grove. Alekwu Amadachi approached, and this time when it spoke, she heard clearly. "Your voice will return when you've taught others what you've learned, not through speaking, through living. When your silence has spoken louder than your words ever did, come back to the grove. We'll be waiting." Behind the masquerade, Ngohal saw another figure. A woman who looked like her, same face, same eyes, but older, wiser, at peace. "Ain." Her aunt smiled. "You chose well, sister, now you understand." Ngohal woke with tears on her face. But for the first time since losing her voice, they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of hope. She sat up, opened her laptop, and began to write. Not for her blog this time, just for herself, processing, healing, understanding. "I challenged a masquerade and paid the price. I lost my voice, but I found my purpose. African tradition is not a joke, it's a test. And some of us fail before we learn to pass. My silence is my teacher now. And perhaps one day, when I've earned it back, I'll use my voice to honor what I once mocked. Until then, I listen. And finally, I understand." She touched her throat where the 5 fingerprints had faded, leaving only the faintest scars. Reminders, lessons written on her skin. Outside her window, Abuja sprawled beneath the night sky, modern, loud, relentless. But inside herself, Ngohal carried something older, something sacred, something worth protecting. She would never speak again. The masquerade had been clear about that. But in her silence, she would shout louder than she ever had with words. And one day, maybe not soon, but one day, she would return to that grove, and the ancestors would be waiting. If this story moved you, subscribe and drop a comment. Tell me, what would you have chosen, your voice or becoming a guardian forever? And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Ngojal Akanj learned the hard way that some prices are worth paying, that some lessons can only be taught through loss. That respect isn't given, it's earned through humility, sacrifice, and the courage to live with your choices. Her voice was gone, but her story would echo forever.